Hi, I'm Dustin Strong, holistic nutritionist, and getting a lot of questions about fasting, why people would fast, and what are the benefits. So I thought I'd make this short but thorough video about what I've come to learn about fasting and why I integrate it into my life and how I integrate it into my life. So several years ago, it all starts with time-restricted feeding. A lot of people looking at keeping a window of time in which you are eating and a window of time in which you're not eating, and showing tremendous benefits for blood sugar balancing and all kinds of other health aspects, which started the conversation for me and looking into it and understanding a little bit more. And then I come to understand there's something called autophagy. Now, we've actually known about autophagy for a long time. Autophagy means self-eating, really, but what it means is that your body's cleaning itself up. It's getting rid of all the dead and sick and dying cells and really helping you literally become younger and cleaning yourself up with new cells. And this concept, this understanding really, won the Medical Nobel Prize in 2016 for its significance in physiology and medicine. And so that really started getting me more and more interested in understanding this idea of autophagy. And now we've come to learn is that after 10 hours of fasting is when you start to engage that. So you see where there starts to be a benefit if you're doing a 12-hour fasting window. And what does that mean? It means you're not eating anything, you're not drinking anything that's going to have any sugar in it, you're not eating anything with protein or fat. So nothing that's going to engage your digestion. So that's always a good starting point, and that's why I'd have somebody think about the fact that if you're eating all the time, you're always putting stress on your digestion, and you're never giving yourself a chance for your digestion to do some cleanup. So it's like you're always having to work, but you never get a chance to get caught up on your emails. You want to have time for both, and you need your body to be able to repair, but you need to give it what it needs to repair. So a lot of people do this, and they see a lot of benefits, but I want to talk about the safe ways to do it and the healthy ways to do it, because we already have a society of people who are nutritionally depleted. Now, if you're already depleted in these essential minerals, things like magnesium and potassium, and then you don't eat for 3 days, you're going to be even more depleted in those, and you're going to experience all kinds of things that are associated with not having enough of those nutrients. So before you even think about doing it, I would always encourage someone to make sure that you're taking the time to eat really micronutrient-dense meals. Think about making sure that you're satisfying all of those really well for a period of a week or even 2 weeks before you start trying it, and then start experimenting with it. So we start with what we call intermittent fasting, or that time-restricted feeding. And that 12-hour window is always a great place to start. You really want to start somewhere that is doable and move your way up. And so what does that mean? Let's say that you open up your day at 7 a.m. and you eat your first meal. If you start then, 7 p.m. is going to be your cutoff at night for when you stop eating. So that gives you 12 hours of feeding, 12 hours of allowing yourself to heal, and giving yourself 2 hours of autophagy, that magic anti-aging, reversal of aging secret sauce that happens in your body all by itself, which is really easy. So from there, where you want to start moving towards more and more benefits is slowly closing the gap on your eating window. So if you go down to 10-hour windows, that actually gives you an extra couple hours of autophagy, which is a really cool thing. You bring it down then to, say, maybe a 14-hour window. So instead of eating up till 7 at night, if you eat at 7 in the morning, you're now down to about 3 o'clock. Well, so that people are saying, well, that's crazy, I'm not going to eat at 3. So maybe instead you move your breakfast later. You hold off a little longer until you eat in the morning. So ultimately what this has brought me down to is an 18-hour fasting window. Now here's why I do it this way, because at 18 hours is when we really get a beginning of a maximum benefit on blood sugar balancing and insulin resistance. You actually start to help your body with its sensitivity to insulin resetting at 18 hours. Now to me, what makes sense is eating your first meal at 10 o'clock, and this is something I've been doing for quite some time. And I came to this conclusion because, number one, I was experimenting with myself and seeing how I felt, but number two, I looked at the way that the body's natural circadian rhythm works. And believe it or not, I actually have Dr. Pepper to thank for a lot of this research. Because Dr. Pepper had a long time ago a jingle, I'm sure you remember it if you know anything about Dr. Pepper. He said, drink a bite to eat at 10, 2, and 4. Now, what he was looking at is the adrenal dip times. This is the time when your body actually drops in the adrenal function. Now, literally meaning that you're going out of fight or flight and into a rest and digest state naturally at that time. So observing this, I thought, well, let me see if I can coincide my meals with that so that instead of being in fight or flight while I'm eating, which is no good, I'm in rest and digest while I'm eating. So 10 o'clock is when I would break that fast. And then I would make sure that I'm having a meal or something to eat, even if it's small, something like walnuts or pumpkin seeds. If you've ever heard me talk, I've mentioned both of those to you. Then somewhere around 2 o'clock, and then stopping around 4 o'clock. Between 10 and 4, we have then a beautiful window of fasting for 18 hours that gives that opportunity for the insulin sensitivity to come back to where it needs to be. Now, why do we need focus on that? Well, we are a sugar-consuming society. We are almost always having some type of blood sugar because we are constantly pounding sugar into our system. And it's too much for our insulin receptors to handle. They start to downregulate because they're constantly being barraged. So giving them this time off, this break, this time to regenerate and repair is one of the most powerful ways to help undo the damage that we've done from eating so much sugar. So you don't necessarily have to become someone who does ketosis as long as you give yourself enough time for your body to be able to regenerate and repair on a daily basis. And that's the key, is making sure that you're getting a little bit of benefit a little bit more every day over a long period of time. This isn't something that's gonna just be a magic switch that flips on and off. It's gonna be something that you're slowly building and slowly repairing over time. So that's the way that I have come to understand intermittent fasting, and that's the way I do it. Now, sometimes some people say, well, I like to do it one meal a day. Now, my sister has actually really embraced this idea and come to a 4-hour eating window where she eats between noon and 4, and that just works for her. Now, it also makes sense because if you look at Ayurvedic medicine, they will say that you're supposed to have your biggest meal when the sun is at its highest. That's when your digestive fire is the most. So it does make sense from that aspect and from her experience for her to eat her first meal at noon. That's when she's breaking her fast. She's having her breakfast at that time, which seems a little weird because it's noon, but that's how she does it. And she's had amazing results. She has had consistent long-term weight loss, energy, mental clarity, so many benefits. She's an entirely different person. She has gotten younger in the last year or so since she's been doing that, in her energy, in her thought process, and in so many ways. So it's a great thing for her. And it's worth experimenting with and seeing where you are. One thing I've definitely learned is that we tend to eat more out of habit. We're not eating because we have to eat. We're eating because we've been told you need to eat something, or we've been told that you have to have 3 meals a day. And so you really have to start to question that. Well, I'm not sure that we have to. And in fact, I think if you look at the average American, they're definitely eating more than they need to, and they're holding on to fuel for later. So when you start to take this all into account, you start to recognize that perhaps we are eating more than we need to, and we can take a little break here and there. And we definitely don't have to be eating all the time. So let's go on to the prolonged fasting. This is where it starts to get really interesting. When you start to think about doing a long-term fast, you start to see all kinds of religions and societies that have integrated this for a very long time. And most people say, well, it's for a spiritual reason. But there's a huge health benefit to that as well. And also, of course, addressing your spiritual health is important while you're doing your actual physical health. But 24 hours is when you start to really have some really cool things happen. So here's what happens at 20 hours. Your intestinal cells, your musculoskeletal cells, and your immune system all start to regenerate and repair. So if you're getting to a 24-hour fast, you get these 4 hours of this amazing regeneration and reboot in your body on top of the autophagy that we had talked about earlier. And here's the thing, it's not nearly as crazy or as difficult as everybody thinks it is. Here's how I do it. I get up on Sunday, I have a beautiful, big, healthy, nourishing, nutrient-dense brunch with things like salmon and really good healthy fats and all kinds of micronutrients, magnesium and walnuts and things that I know are going to nourish my body. And then I stop and I just don't eat for the rest of the day, get a good night's sleep, fasted, and then I wake up and I just wait until around noon or a little after noon to break my fast like my sister does, and that easily gives me a 24-hour fast. But I'm still eating Sunday and Monday. I'm just making sure I'm getting 24 hours where my digestive system gets a complete break from all the work we're constantly putting on it and allows it the opportunity to do some repair. So think about that. Think about your intestinal cells. If there's constantly work being done, when do they have time to repair? When do they have time to actually regenerate? And if you give yourself that opportunity, it's so important for your long-term health. So one of the things that I've integrated in my life is a weekly 24-hour fast. And again, it sounds crazy, but when you think about the fact that you're eating on a Sunday and a Monday, it's really not that crazy. You're just creating that opportunity for your body to heal itself. Now, there are a lot of people that will talk about longer term fasts, and a lot of research is showing all kinds of interesting things that are going to be happening. And it seems to be that at about 72 hours is when you really hit the zenith of all of the benefits. And you get this autophagy spiking at that time. You get the stem cell regeneration spiking at that time. You get all of this maximum return at about 3 days. And people go, what? You fasted for 3 days? And yeah, I did actually. I just finished my 72-hour fast, and I was actually feeling so good and so energetic, I didn't want to eat. You almost get a little bit of a high because you feel so light, you feel so clear. You can feel your body doing so many great repairs that weren't happening. Now here's an interesting story I like to share really quick. Is I've had some individuals talk to me about having some severe pain, some severe crippling conditions that nothing would help them. And now this is just an anecdote, okay, but it's something that's worth asking more questions about. But this person was so tired they couldn't get out of bed, they were in so much pain they couldn't play with their kids. And luckily they got a stomach bug. I know I say luckily because they weren't able to eat for 3 days, and that now we know was doing all kinds of things within their body in that time that it gave them a break. On the 3rd day when she woke up, her pain was gone. Now that's enough for me to say, well, why would that happen? And maybe we should look more into this. And people have looked into it, and we found all kinds of amazing things happening after that time. So if you're gonna try it, start really slow and low. That's gonna be, of course, my first and most important advice to anyone thinking about doing this. Except also, you want to make sure that you are getting the micronutrients first and afterwards. If you are not eating a healthy diet, it's not necessarily going to be the smartest thing to just go into a fast. You still have to have that micronutrient load to be able to support your body's ability to function. Even though you're not eating, you still are going to be drawing from your body's reserves. So you want to make sure that you have reserves to draw from in that time. And definitely, if you're going to do a water fast, make sure you're getting your electrolytes. You have to keep the electrolytes in the mix, or else you're going to experience some difficulties. And finally, one of the last questions that people always ask me, they say, Dustin, I take a lot of supplements. Should I be taking my supplements when I'm trying my 24-hour fast? And the answer is no. You shouldn't be taking anything in that time except for water and maybe some electrolytes in the form of like a sea salt or any other type of electrolyte that isn't going to engage your digestive system, meaning that there's no sugars, there's no carbohydrates, there's no fats, there's no proteins, nothing that your body has to engage the digestive system if you take it into your body. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it gave you some information and something to think about, and understand that there can be some amazing benefits if you learn how to incorporate this into your life and do it in a smart and healthy way. Thanks for watching, guys.